This is Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host. So good to have you with us. The website, tonyperkins.com. All right, my next guest, the Reverend Dr. Dennis Jackman of Community United Methodist Church in Pasadena, Maryland, was in his church by himself, I assume working in his office, preparing his sermon for Sunday or something like that. There's a knock at the door. So he gets up, he goes to see who's trying to get into his church. He opens the door, and he's greeted with a citation and the threat of jail. The reason, he wasn't wearing a mask. He was the only person in the church. Nobody else was there. So who was at the door, and why were they there? Joining me now is the Reverend Dr. Dennis Jackman. Pastor Jackman, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you taking your time. I have a private office, and the secretary has a private office, just for clarification. And she also has responsibilities in a different part of the building, and so oftentimes I am only in this part of the building. It's isolated. And we have a doorbell, and the doorbell rang, and usually at the first ring, she will take care of it. It rang 2 or 3 times. And so I went to the door, and what happens is we often have people who stop by the church for food assistance, and I think the day that this occurred, it was on a Tuesday, and what I do is go to the door, tell people they need to go around to the back of the building. They'll be receive food, and they don't get out of their car. It will be put in their trunk, and there's no contact. And so when this person appeared and sort of identified themselves with the health department, I invited them in, and they proceeded to be very authoritarian, telling me that I had violated 6 feet, being 6 feet apart, although there's no way to get into the building through the door because it's a push door that locks, so only if I hold the door open will it stay open. And then he proceeded to tell me I wasn't wearing a mask. I wasn't expecting anybody to come in the building, and I immediately left him from the lobby and went to my office and picked up the mask that I keep on my desk and went and rejoined him.
So why was he there?
He had received an anonymous, or the health department had received an anonymous complaint. I've never been clear on what the complaint was. I heard somewhere else that it was because there were people high-fiving and fist-bumping in the sanctuary. I have a fairly older type congregation. I can't imagine an 80, 90 years old high-fiving somebody, and or for that matter, fist-bumping. We have, tried to discourage any type of physical contact in our worship at all. Just as a precaution, as you come in the sanctuary or into the lobby, we have alcohol pumped there and mask, and you go in further into the vestibule, and again, there's alcohol dispensers on either side as you go into the sanctuary. We encourage social distancing. Pews are marked off. I mean, we're conducting a 9 o'clock outside service even last Sunday when it was 32 degrees, so people could sit in their cars and listen to the service. So we have really tried to comply with all the precautions for the COVID. And in addition, there have been a number of folks from this church family that I have said, please don't come to church. I have a lady that's 103 years old, and I think it would be ill-advised to come and just because we want to protect her health.
Well, and you're the pastor, you're the shepherd of the flock, and I would think that you're going to look out after your people and do what is best for them. Isn't that what pastors do?
Well, that would be my hope, and that's certainly my intent, and we also want to comply with reasonable expectations, but I mean, it's almost like we're in a Nazi Germany in 1938, where you have anonymous people making anonymous charges, and by the way, the health department has hired additional people in Anne Arundel County so that they can go out and check better on anonymous reports. So we have people. Go ahead.
What do you plan on doing, Dr. Jackman?
Well, there's not a whole lot more that we are. I mean, we haven't done much different. They wanted some. We had a whiteboard in the vestibule telling people to wear a mask. We put up paper signs on all the doors. I mean, there's not much else. I mean, we've been trying to comply from the very beginning. In the citation, the gentleman that was here told us he was coming back, and he made that very clear. He would be back in 3 or 4 days to check on us, and he indicated that he could shut down the church.
Do you? Let me ask you. We're up against the break, but do you think that ultimately is what some are trying to do? Is just to intimidate the church to close down?
Absolutely, and all people of faith.
Yeah. Well, thank you for not doing it. Thank you for continuing to meet and to shepherd your people and to meet their needs and not giving in to the bullying nature of some in government. We need more pastors that are willing to do the best they can to meet the needs of their people, take reasonable precautions, but not be intimidated. So, Dr. Jackman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and you have a blessed day.
All right, you too. He's right. He's right. I think ultimately this is about some wanting to shut down the churches. But this snitching, what's this about? Larry Taunton here is with us next to talk more about this and the history of this type of government behavior.